Hello and welcome to this video. My name's David Thorne. In this video we're going to be talking all about how we can make cleaner, swift network requests using async and await and the generic result type. So let me just quickly go over what we've got here. This is not a Swift UI video, first of all. This is all about network requests with async and await using the result type. I just happen to be using Swift UI because it presents it a little bit nicer. So we have this posts view, super elegant, award-winning view here, where you've got then the title of the post, and when we click it, it goes on to the next page and it shows then the title and the body, and it goes back again. It's not supposed to be important, all right? The fact is that we can pass the data around and so on. But we're using generics here. So what we have in our content view is we have this generic list view. And as you can see here, within inside of the body, we have a view model with a view model here with a generic type parameter of then the post. The post has an ID and a title, and within that conforms to the model protocol, which is codable and identifiable, and it has then a title property that's just a getter and so on. So nothing super important, okay? So let's go back to the content view. And then the view model, we can see here implements, before we start looking at the implementation, it has an associated type of model, which we've just talked about, the model protocol, and it has a function of get items with completion handler using escaping, and then the result, an array of the models, and then gives us a network error that is implemented here. So let's just go back to this, and then that returns void. So this is the old school way of doing it, but what we want is basically a get items function that is an async function, if I can correct typely, and that then returns a result and also the same result, but it's just a lot more cleaner, so we don't have this completion handler and so on. So we can come down to our implementation here and get items once again, and we're now going to return failure, and then we'll just say unexpected error first of all, so we get rid of all of the compile time errors. So now we have this, we can come over to our content view, sorry, our generic list view, where we are currently using the view model get items, and we're going to comment this out. Let's just make sure we're all still working, and we can see we are. So let's just comment this out, and we should get then no items as expected, and then we can come here and get result, and rather than using this other version, we can say get items here, and this time we will say then async and await, and this time we can basically just cut and paste this here instead, and let's remove the previous implementation, and when we run the code once again, we see that we get nothing, because we are obviously coming down the bottom, seeing here unexpected error, because that's just exactly what we told it to do here with unexpected error. So now the next task that we have basically is to re-implement all of this logic using async and await. So let's just copy over the request instead, and rather than, so we can still use URL session shared data task, all right, but this time we can use data task for URL request async throws instead, and we have the request already. Now the one thing that we do know is that we're going to have to try, and we can wait for this as well, but we still need to handle this. We still need to handle this error, so that's something that we can't get away from. And now we have here. Now we have here the data, and we have also the response. So we've whoops, I've put them around the wrong way, excuse me. And so now we have the data and the response and the error. So the error, well, we can already return here a result, whoops, a result of network. We can already return, sorry, we can return the failure here with then it was error instead, and then error. We can remove this return statement there. So now the data and the response, well, we can come back to the normal bit, and we've resolved then the error, because this is where we've got the error already. And the response we can check here as well. We can copy this here, because we can see whether or not we have this one response, and we can just remove this and come here and put that inside there, and we don't need then the completion anymore. So this is this one then handled as before. The data, we know 100% we've got the data now, so we don't even need this data one, doesn't matter anymore. The only thing we've got left to do now is the decoding, and this has nothing to do with async and await. We have the type still. We have the type still. The only thing we've got to do is return success and items. We don't need the dispatch queue either, and the error, we've got failure decoding once again too, and we can replace this. We need a return statement also, and we build this, and we are missing a brackets. And then once again, we see that we are compiling, and if we come over to our generic list and we run this once again, we should see exactly the same as before once Xcode has done its thing. And there we go, we see exactly the same thing. So let's go over to our view model now, and let's break the code just to make sure that we still do the correct thing that we should do. And there should be no post, and when we come down here, we see we have bad request, which is correct. So let's come back to our view model and unbreak it once again, come back to our view, and we can see that we are all there once again. So what else can we break on this? Well, we saw that the response is fine, but now all we're going to do is basically come over to our post instead. Come over to our post instead and say, rather than have a title, we're just going to call it information instead. Okay, and come to our post here and change that to information. Come to our generic view and change this to information as well, and change this to information, change this to information once again, and change this to information. And we still got these here, information. You'll see what will happen in a second when we run this, and when this is finally compiled and got ready. You can see now we have a decoding error, okay, which is what we want. Decoding error, coding keys information, it doesn't have that one key, all right? So we can see now that when we look through our view model, we've handled this error, this failure with a bad request, and now you can see that we are sending back a decoding error as well. So with the only last one now would be the actual error within inside the URL session, which I don't really want to just mess around with this, but this will come down to the failure down here on an error. So we know that this error down here is all of the other possible throwing errors have already been handled. So the only thing that can happen is something on the network level itself. Okay, so let's just revert all of this back now on post and model back to title, and come to this again and title, and come to here, title, 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 and come back to the view, title, 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 and it should build once again. We have one more left over, which is there. Happy days. And let's go back to the content view, the generic list view. So as you can see here, using async and await to make things a lot cleaner, and also then using the generic result allows us to separate our code. We might want to display a completely different view instead when we have no items, or when maybe another state has been set for an error. But this is not a Swift UI video. This is all about how to make your networking requests a lot cleaner. And as you can see though, is that the logic about retrieving all of the models from an external resource, be it a REST API, is not handled with inside of the view. It's handled with inside of our view model in this scenario. Now that it doesn't really make it the right place to do this type of thing, but this type of code, this type of business logic does not belong in a view at all. So now, but when you look at this get items here and compare them to this get items, it's a lot more cleaner, okay? And you could make the code maybe like a little bit even better than this, but in all fairness, it's pretty declarative in itself. And obviously, because we are directly returning a result, which we can use and pass around. So the advantage of this, because it is cleaner, is one, it's less code. One is less code. Two, it's also easier to read. It's always easier to understand. Okay, we don't have a status code 200. This is not an HTTP URL response. Okay, then we fail here. Okay, this doesn't decode correctly, so we've got a decoding problem, so we'll fail with a decoding error. And we have a general networking error down here, so it's easier to understand. And we don't have any completion handlers, especially if you have a completion handler with inside of a completion handler with inside of a completion handler. This is a lot better way to do it. Now, this URL and this request should be extracted outside of this one view model, but that's not part of the network request. But this doesn't belong inside of here, just for clarity. Now, this result, let's go back over to the generic list view. This result could be passed on to another function, okay? So we could display this information, but then there could be another function that takes then the result that wants to maybe log this information, maybe wants to send data to another view or something like that. So it may be that just because this one view has eating up all this information and it's used all of it, doesn't make this result redundant anymore, because this result now has all of the error information in it, has all of the item information in it, and the asynchronous part of it has been wiped out. So you could still use this. You can still use this to as much as you want for other purposes, especially as caching type things. You could have like a cache up here of cache items, which could be then an array of results. And in this scenario, we said post a network error and so on. So it might be that you want to be able to cache these results. And in this, you can then obviously say, what did I just call that? Cache items. Here you can then say append and then results. Okay, yeah, obviously we need view model here. Yeah, sorry, my mistake, your fault. And we need to say self here. Oh, yeah, obviously, yeah, we need to have an array as well. Whoops, go away. We need to have an array of view results. And yeah, okay, this is another Swift thing. We could make this mutating, but the whole point of this is that we could then put state here as well, and that would solve that one problem. It's not Swift UI. It's not a Swift UI tutorial. However, if we wanted to save these results and we didn't want to have to do this request once again, then we would have the cached items maybe stored somewhere else, so we know for the future that we don't have to do this request again. With that said, this was showing you how to do cleaner Swift network requests with async and the results type. If you want to see the other video that I made about writing this code, then go and check out the playlist as well. Now, this is another reason to show you how vitally important generics are, how also vitally important it is to understand the likes of the results enum that you can use. And it's just another indication of how you can write cleaner code. 1, using generics, 2, using async and await, and 3, you really need to understand how concurrency works, which in the playlist we haven't yet talked about concurrency. However, this is a good introduction to you to concurrency, not currency, to concurrency, because all of this work is being done on a background thread, but we'll talk about these things in another video. With that said, I hope you've got something out this one video. I hope you've learned something from this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and if you do have any questions, feedback or concerns, please feel free to put your questions in the comment section down below so we can start a conversation. With that said, my name's David Thorne. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.